जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधार गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोर बिहारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय। नित्याल विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्याल विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्याल्प विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट महाभगवत शिल गोरक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट शिल सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथदास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानु गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम अचय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल कोरमंडल व्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभीष्ट प्रदाता गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। जय श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर भजन रहस्य की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि वो। This is so strange. Okay, sorry. Let's do the Mangalacharan 1 second. I'm having a lot of trouble with my computer right now. Sorry. Uh, okay. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Shri Siddhanta Saraswati Tividito Kodiya Gurvan Vaye Bhato Bhanuriva Prabhat Prabhat Gaganeyos Gora Sankirtanai Maya Varatmingilo Daragatan Udritya Jiva Niman Krishna Prema Sudabdi Gahana Sukang Pradat Prabhung Tang Bhaje Vande Bhakti Vinodang Shri Gaura Shakti Sarupakam Bhakti Shastra Samrajam Radha Rasa Sudha Nidhim Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanugavarayate Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vrishabhanusutanvitavamatanum यमुनातटनागरनन्दसुतं मुरलीकलगीतविनोरपरं भज गोद्रुमकाननकुञ्जविदुम् स्मर गौरगदाधरकेलिकलं भव गौरगदाधरपक्षचर शृणु गौरगदाधर चारुकथं भज गोद्रुमकाननकुञ्जविदुम् तवैवास्मि तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय देवी त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम् भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितराङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम् भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्रीस्वरूपराय सङ्गहर्षशेषघोषणं शिक्षणाष्टकाख्य कृष्णकीर्तनैकपोषणं प्रेम नाममात्र विश्वजीवनैकसाम्बरं प्रेमदामदेवमेव नौमि गौरसुन्दरम् प्रेमोर्भावितहर्षर्योद्वेगदैन्यर्तिमिश्रितम् लपितं गुरचन्द्रस्य भाग्यवद्भिर्निषेव्यते प्रभुर्शिक्षाष्टक श्लोक जय पोरे शुने कृष्णे प्रेम भक्ति तार बारे दीने दीने All right, Dandavat pranams. Oh wait, let's go through Shikshashtakam first. Then, okay. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagninirvapanam Shreyakairavachandrika Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन काला एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवान् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशमिह जनिनानुरागा तृणारपि सुनिचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीय सदा हरि न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितं वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतार्भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि ऐनन्दतनुजकिङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पारपङ्कजा स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गद्धरुद्धया गिरा पुलकार्निचितं वपु कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रावृषायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्लीषवापाररतं विनष्टुमम् अदर्शनान्मार्माहतं करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो Matprananatastu sa eva na para. Matprananatastu sa eva na para. So we're going over Śikṣāṣṭaka verse 2. You have manifested all of your potency in your innumerable holy names. There are no restrictions on when they may be remembered. O Bhagavan, you are so merciful. But I am so unfortunate that spontaneous attachment, that anurag for your holy names, has not arisen within my heart. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, dear devotees, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Chatamai Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Champak Mataji, and let's see. Oops, I forgot to open up YouTube and Facebook. So if anybody wrote comments, I'm not going to see them. I mean, I'll see them now. Just looking at my... anyhow, I'm guessing... Well, let me just actually open it on my phone. I'll see it there. But yeah, Dandavat Pranams, Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji, Ganga Mataji, Krishna Mai Didi, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, and I see Vidyalala Sadidi and Ganga Mataji. Yeah. And everybody else watching. Also, pranams to all devotees watching in the future, like Shachi JB, Revati Didi, Jayade Prabhu, Manjari Didi, Haribol. Okay, so we are continuing on with our reading of Bhajana-rahasya. Yesterday, we completed the section about identifying what are all the anarthas. They were divided into 4, and each of those 4 were further divided into 4, so that makes 16 different categories of anarthas. And now we are going to hear about how to remove each one of these anarthas. So, okay, so this chapter 2 of Bhajana-rahasya, I was having trouble with my computer today, so I didn't actually do any, didn't prepare anything. But so this chapter is the Dvitīya-yāma-sādhana, Prata Kaliya Bhajana. So this is morning time, approximately 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. when after the sun has risen. So this time of the day for the sadhak represents anartha nivritti and sadhu sangha. In the stages of sadhan to bhav to prem, there's shraddha, and then the next 3 are like one unit. They all go together. Sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, and anartha nivritti. They aren't like 3 separate stages. They all happen simultaneously. You're in sadhu sangha, and when you're in sadhu sangha, you'll engage in the activities of bhajana kriya. And when you're engaging in bhajan, then your anarthas will be gradually removed. So those 3 things happen simultaneously. And that is this time period of the day, 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And the verse from Śikṣāṣṭakam, which represents this, is the second verse. Nam namakari bahuda nijasarva shaktis tatarapita niyamita smarane nakala. And so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives a verse, 4 verses, 1 verse to explain how Krishna has manifested many names. And then he gives another verse, how Krishna has Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatarpita, how he has invested his all his Shaktis within those names. And then he gives another verse explaining how Niyamita Smarane Nakala, how there in remembering these names, there are no restrictions regarding when the time, Kala, when they may be remembered, what condition, what time, what place. And so then he says, Etadrishi tava kripa, such is your mercy, O Bhagavan. Mamapi durdaivam, but my misfortune, my durdaivam, idrisham is such, iha jani na anuraga, this anurag for these names, iha in here in these names, has not ajani, has not been born, has not manifested within me. So then, yeah, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur then, in the fourth verse after this, he gives a verse explaining Durdaivam. Durdaivam means misfortune. And also, misfortune is like anartha can also mean misfortune, right? Because artha means fortune, it means wealth, that which has value. And anartha means that which has no value, that unfortunate, unfortunate. Yeah, um, so then, oh wait, but before he explains, no, first he explains what is our durdaivam? Why, how are we unfortunate? Yeah, he explains how we are unfortunate. How are we unfortunate? He gives this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's um, let's just go to it. At some point, I would in the future, I would like to go through Bhajana-rahasya again, so that, and then we could actually like go through it very thoroughly and like memorize all these verses. But for now, this is my first time ever like reading it actually like properly. I did proofread it once very quickly, but that wasn't anything. Okay, so in Srimad Bhagavatam 397, Brahma says to Vishnu, Daivena te hata dhiyo bhavata prasangat sarva shubho pashama. The meaning is, those persons, those persons whose indriya, whose senses are vimukh, they are averse, or they are turned away from bhavata prasangat. That means narrations about bhavata, narrations about you, prasangat bhavata, which sarva ashubha upashamanat, from which all sarva, all ashubha, all inauspiciousness, upashamanat, from which it's all destroyed. That person, he endeavors, kurvanti, he endeavors he engages in akushalani, in inauspicious acts, shashvat, all the time. Like he's just constantly engaged in these inauspicious acts and doing inauspicious things. Why? Just lavaya, lesha lavaya, to attain the tiniest, like atomic particle of a fraction, lesha lavaya, of kam sukh, of pleasure for the senses. I say, sense enjoyment, kam sukh. Because his mind, his heart is overwhelmed by greed, lobha. Abhibhuta means overwhelmed by lobe, by greed. That wretched person, Dina, he's wretched. And this is because his diya, his intelligence has been hata, has been stolen away, has been destroyed by daivena, by fate. So this is the definition of, this is what is meant by durdaivam in this verse of Shikṣāṣṭakam. This is misfortune. And so then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives this verse from the first canto, 7th chapter, verses 4 to 6, how Vyasadeva, and his through Bhakti Yoga, Vyasadeva completely fixed his mind on Krishna with a pure mind, and then he had darshan, he beheld that supreme absolute, and also Maya, who is completely sheltered by that supreme absolute truth, the supreme person Krishna. And then he saw the jivas who were bewildered by that Maya. They were bewildered, manute, thinking that they are thinking themselves, atmanam, they are thinking themselves to be products of material matter, trigunatmakam. And so And from this anartha of misidentifying the self, they engaged in all these activities, like, all these unfavorable activities. And so Vyasadeva, so how do we get rid of these anarthas? Well, through bhakti yoga to udhokshaj, to the supreme transcendental Lord beyond this material world. If you engage in shakshad bhakti yoga, direct bhakti to him, then these anarthas will be destroyed. But the people, lokas, the ajanata, they don't know about this. So Vyasadeva, he compiled this Satvata Sanghita Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so now we know what the Duradaivam is, what is the misfortune. And now in this next verse, we see why we have this misfortune. Um, and and now Vyasadeva gave us Srimad Bhagavatam to get rid of all these anarthas. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur he goes through, now we know we know why we're unfortunate, we know why we're in this predicament, and now we have to see what are the anarthas. And so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains or he quotes from this Amnaya Sutra Vyakya, which I don't know anything about. I'm very curious to know more about this book. But he explains the four categories of anarthas. There's Sarup Brahm, Asat Trishna, Aparad, and Hriday Dorpalya. That's what we went over yesterday, all these verses. Sarup Brahm is divided into four. There are Sarup Brahm means being an illusion regarding the Sarup, the real nature. And this is further divided in by having being mistaken about or being an illusion about the nature of the self, of the jiva, being an illusion about the nature of the supreme absolute truth, the paratattva, being an illusion about sadhya and sadhan tattva, about the truth of what is our ultimate aim and how to reach that ultimate aim. What do we have to do? Our sadhan, what sadhan do we have to, what practice do we do to reach that sadhya, that aim, that goal? And we're an illusion about Vishaya, the things that are opposed, are averse to bhajan. So we don't know what the goal is, what's favorable for that goal, like how do I attain that goal, and we also don't know about what is harming us, like what is unfavorable, what is, um, yeah, all the things that are against that. And then asat trishna. Asat trishna, it means thirsting for that which is temporary, material, the asat. Trishna means thirst. So this is further divided into four. This desire, this thirst, this trishna for objects of this material world, for heavenly pleasures, for mystic powers, and for liberation. That's asat trishna. And then aparad, that's the next one, that's the third one. There's nam aparad, seva aparad, that's offenses in service, especially to Krishna's deity form. Um, and then offenses to that which is related to Krishna, tadiya vastu. Tadiya means, yeah, what is related to Krishna. So Giriraj, Govardhan, Ganga, Yamuna, the Dham, the feet of the devotees, all these things like that. Tulsi Maharani. Um, and then also offenses to other living entities, who are all infinitesimal particles of spirit belonging to Krishna. So this is aparad. We read yesterday that the definition of aparad is that apagata, what was it? Oh, I guess it explains it up above, but what was it? Is it like apagata radham something? Anyways, it means that which destroys rad. And radha means priti, affection. Radha, aparadha. So that which destroys affection is aparad. And then lastly is Hriday Dorbalya. That's also four kinds. That is attachment to worthless objects, objects unrelated to Krishna. And also hypocrisy. And number two is hypocrisy and deceit, kutinati. Then number three is envy upon seeing the prosperity of others. And number four is the desire for prestige and position, pratishtasha. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that that the Chai Ripu and Chai Urmi are born from this Hriday Dorbalya. The Chai Ripu, Hriday Dorbalya gives birth to six enemies. These are the Chai Ripu. That's lust, anger, greed, delusion, pride, and envy. And their waves, the waves of these six enemies result in distress, bewilderment, hunger, thirst, old age, and death. So the creeper of devotion cannot grow as long as one does not give up these anarthas. Jato din e sab anartha nahi chhade, tato din bhakti lata kabu nahi bade. That's what that sentence means. And now we come to the first remedy for removing these anarthas. Begins with the all-important, all anarthas are nullified by Nam Sankirtan. Every one of these anarthas that we went through, these 16 different things, they're all nullified by Nam Sankirtan. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:14 states, so this is the 14th verse from the beginning. Apana sangsritim ghorang yannama vivasho grinan tata sadyo vimuchyeta yad bhibheti swayang bhayam. I haven't looked at the Sanskrit or Bengali or anything for any of these, and so I'm not going to try to explain it because I don't want to waste your time. I want to look at it once on my own, and then I'll be able to explain it better. But so I'm just going to read translation. So, if a living entity who is caught in the whirlpool of material existence even once chants the name of Krishna, he can be freed immediately. Even fear personified trembles upon hearing the name of Sri Bhagavan. Bhoi bhoi pai. I've seen that. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's written that in a few songs that I know of. And he writes it here as well. Bhoi pai bhoi. So, okay, so E ghor sangsare pori, Krishna naam loy, sadya mukta hoy ar bhoi pai bhoi. So, having fallen, poriya means having fallen into this ghor. Ghor means ghastly, this ghastly sangsar, this ghastly material existence. That person who chants, who who takes the name, who chants Krishna Nam, sadya means immediately, mukta hoy, he is liberated. And ar means and, boy pai boy. Boy is sorry, fear is himself, uh, fear himself is fearful. Because in front of the name, Krishna, even fear personified fears the name. Okay, so then here is Srila Gurudev's, my Srila Gurudev's commentary, Bhajana-rahasya vritti. The far-sighted sages, reflecting on the terrible distress of the living entities in the frightful age of Kali, asked Sutta Goswami Pad. He said, O Somya, how can the conditioned living entities who are attached to material existence become liberated? Sutta replied, association with devotees of Sri Bhagavan is the only means. Bathing in the Ganga destroys sins, but all sins are nullified solely by having darshan of a devotee who is dedicated to the holy name. The direct result of associating with the Supreme Lord's devotees and serving them is the attainment of prem. If a living entity merely utters the holy name at the time of death, Nam Prabhu will bestow prem upon him. Jai. Krishna Nam Ki Jai. So that is the first method for destroying all anarthas. It's nullified by this Nam Sankirtan. One is freed immediately. One even once chants the name of Krishna. There's nothing to be afraid of. When you have Harinam, there's nothing to be afraid of. Even fear himself trembles upon hearing the name of Bhagavan. Boy, pai, boy. Fear is afraid of, fear is afraid of the name. So what do you have to be worried? We have Krishna Nam. There's nothing to be afraid of. Now, the next verse, this is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 2, verse 37. This is about taking shelter of Sri Guru. Srila Gurudev wrote a whole, we made a whole book on this called Guru Deva Tatma. It's all based on this verse here. So, Bhayam Dvitīya-yāma-sādhana syad Isharapa apetasya viparyayo smriti tanmayayato buddha abhajetang bhaktya kaeshang gurudeva tatma. The living entity who is averse to Sri Bhagavan forgets his own constitutional nature because of his association with Maya. Due to this forgetfulness, he becomes absorbed in the conception that he is the material body and thus thinks, I am a demigod. I am a human being. In this state of bodily identification, he fears old age, disease, and so forth. Therefore, those who know the truth should consider their own guru as Ishwar, as the supreme. In other words, they should see him as their master, who is non-different from Bhagavan and who is very dear to him. Through exclusive devotion, they should perform one-pointed worship of that Ishwar, their guru. Yeah, and as I said, I will go through all these verses again, going through the meaning of all the Sanskrit words, but I wanna look at it first on my own. God, I don't like translating on the fly without having seen it even once. I'm just not good at it, but let's just try. Krishna chari jeev koilo anya bhinivesh tai tar viparjay smriti ar klesh sarguru ashray kori Krishna kripa ashe ananya bhajana kore jai Krishna pashe. Okay, so Krishna charya jiva koilo anya bhinivesh. So having abandoned Krishna, or having abandoned Krishna, the jiva he koilo anya bhinivesh. He becomes absorbed in things which are unrelated to Krishna. Anya bhinivesh. Therefore, tar viparjay smriti ar klesh. That's why he has this very backwards, destructive, like his smriti, his, I don't know, destructive thinking, and he arklesh, and he suffers. But Sadguru Ashray Koriya, having taken shelter of a Sadguru, of a bona fide guru, and when he's hoping for this mercy of Krishna, having taken shelter of Sadguru, then Ananya Bhajana Kore, then he engages in one-pointed bhajan and Jai Krishna Pashe, and he goes directly to Krishna. Okay, so now Bhajana-rahasya vritti. I wish there were translations for these. Um, I'm I don't like translating it. I'm happy to translate them, but I'd like to look at it once on my own so that otherwise I get nervous. I'll say. So, okay, Bhajana-rahasya vritti. When the living entities are averse to the Supreme Lord, they become absorbed in Maya and thus become materially conditioned. Maya Devi, through her two functions of avaranatmika and vikshepatmika, she makes the living entities wander in the prison-like material existence, suffering its torment by thinking they are the experiencers of happiness and distress. And do you remember what these, we went, explained this once before also. So avaranatmika is Maya Devi, her two functions. So the first one, avaranatmika, means she avarana. She covers the living entities, with all these different coverings, this false sense of I and mine, and there are all the subtle and gross coverings. She covers the jivas. And then vikshepatmika. Vikshepa means she throws them into this material world. So these are two functions, covering them and throwing them into this world. And thus she makes the living entities wander in the prison-like material existence, suffering torment by thinking that they are the experience of happiness and distress. A person who is resolute takes shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide guru and is thus able to cross over this material existence. By accepting the guidance of a guru who has realized Sri Bhagavan, and by being absorbed in intimate service, Vishrambha Seva to him, one attains the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and material identification goes far away. One will attain knowledge of one's own surup, one's own true nature, Bhagavan's surup, Bhagavan's nature, and the surup, the nature of the illusory energy, by understanding the spiritual master to be near and dear, like his own soul, and by serving him. By the Guru's mercy, the living entity will ultimately be engaged in eternal service in Sri Bhagavan's abode. So that's Sambandha Gyan, right? When you get knowledge of your own Surup, Bhagavan's Surup, and the Surup of the living of Maya, that's the meaning of Sambandha Tattva, right? You understand these three things, you understand their nature, and you understand my relationship and how they're all interrelated. And you won't just understand it theoretically, you'll actually understand it. Like you'll have realization of it. And so this happen, yeah. And this all happens when you understand the spiritual master to be near and dear, like his own soul. And when you serve him. Then by the Guru's mercy, the living entity will ultimately be engaged in eternal service. Then you'll attain the prayojan by engaging, so first Sambandha Gyan, first we understand the nature of reality. Then we serve, we engage in this sadhan. First we serve Sri Guru, and we understand him to be near and dear to me, like my own soul. And then we attain the goal. So that is, for us, that is our process of attaining Sambandha, Avideya, and Prayojan. It's all related to Sri Guru. And so, first, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that our ultimate practice for nullifying sins is Nam Sankirtan. And we do that along with taking shelter of Sri Guru. So these are the first two ways to remove all these 16 anarthas that we went through. Let's see, what is the third way that he explains? The characteristics, this is text 14 of Bhajana-rahasya, the characteristics of Bhakti Yoga are described in Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, verses 12 and 7. Tatshaddadana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashantyatmani chatmanam bhaktya shruta grihitaya vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojita janayatyashu vairagyam jnanam cha yad ahaitukam. After hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, a faithful person automatically acquires bhakti endowed with knowledge and renunciation. By such bhakti, he apprehends the Supreme Lord's Swarup in his heart, and he realizes his relationship with him. I actually don't know. This is a basic word, but I still don't. I just want to see. He apprehends the Supreme Lord's Swarup. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. To catch and arrest him. He arrests, seizes, captures. Okay, no, there's another word. Understand or perceive. Okay, great art invites us to apprehend beauty, to understand or perceive beauty. Okay, so he perceives the Supreme Lord's swarup in his heart, the Supreme Lord's nature in his heart, and he realizes his relationship with him. Thereupon, he enters service to the Lord. When the relationship between the Lord and the living entity is established, Bhakti Yoga for Bhagavan Shri Vasudeva appears. Okay, let's look at the Bengali. Okay, so Shraddha Koriya Nam Bhaje Sadhu Kripa Paya. So one serves the name with faith, having received the mercy of a sadhu. Then itare virag nitya. And then for anything that's itar means that which is directed away from Krishna. Everything that's yeah, any other thing other than Krishna, they feel virag. They feel detachment and disinterest, detachment. There's no rag, virag, no kind of attraction for any kind of thing that is itare, that is unrelated to Krishna. And nitya swarup bhujiya, and they've understood their nitya swarup, their eternal nature. Ihake boli bhakti yoga anuttama. So this is called bhakti yoga, which is anuttama, which is unsurpassed. It's the topmost thing. And bhakti yoga, through this bhakti yoga, sarvasiddhi jadi dhare kram. If one follows this bhakti yoga, this path of bhakti, sequentially, yadi dhare kram, then sarvasiddhi, then one attains all perfection. That's my guess of what this means, but I don't know. This is my first time I ever looked at this Sanskrit. Okay, so, sorry, Bengali. So Bhajana-rahasya vritti. Sadhana of the non-dual absolute truth, Advai Gyan Paratattva, is of three kinds. There's Gyan, Yoga, and Bhakti. The Gyanis realize Bhagavan as Brahma on the strength of their cultivation of knowledge. They see Tat Padartha Bhagavan within their souls, their Atmas. They see their own souls in Ishvar. And they also see Tang Padartha, all living entities in him. The yogis realize the non-dual object as Paramatma, the supersoul. Okay, and then all attempts made by the living entities to attain renunciation through the cultivation of dry knowledge are useless. All their attempts are useless. Renunciation is an inherent result of bhakti and is easily attained through the practice of bhakti yoga. It's just like an automatic byproduct of engaging in bhakti. Don't even need to endeavor for it. It's a side effect. The bhakti sadhak relishes the direct sweetness of the non-dual object on the strength of his devotion. The process of bhakti is to hear Krishna Katha from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master. Knowledge endowed with a sense of one's relationship with Sri Krishna appears through the process of bhakti by the means of hearing and chanting. The acharyas have ascertained that the mood of service appears by hearing from authorities. The impersonalists do not follow this path of hearing, which is the descending path. It's the avarohavad. It's a descending path, right? Because it's when you're not you're not well, let's continue reading. It says, rather, they endeavor to take shelter of the doctrine of the ascending path, arohavad. So the meaning of aroha and avaroha. Avaroha means descending, and aroha means ascending. And so avaroha is when you don't rely on your own ability and like I can do this myself and like I will attain Krishna bhakti and like that. That's the aroha path. If you think, okay, I'm going to do this sadhana, I'm going to read these books, I'm going to distribute these books, like I'm going to do the service and like this and this and this, and then I'm going to elevate myself and then I'm going to reach Krishna. That's the aroha path. That's the ascending path. By your own efforts, um, you're going to elevate yourself. But the avaroha path, the descending path, is when you realize I don't have I'm completely useless. Like I don't have any ability to uplift myself on my own. I depend on mercy to come from above. And so then mercy descends, and so that's descending. That's the avaroha means descending. I'm praying for mercy to come down from above. And then through that mercy, I will be elevated. So we're always dependent on mercy. That's avaroha. And it means sharanagati, basically. Um, so rather, they endeavor to take shelter of the doctrine of the ascending path, these impersonalists. Their attempts are compared to trying to reach the sky by climbing on falling raindrops. When the living entity is absorbed in service to the object of bhajan and not in any other object, then pure bhakti and proper renunciation, yukta vairagya, will arise. Okay, so this is the next verse. Next way to get rid of these anarthas is just to, when you engage in bhakti yoga, automatically a byproduct of that, just a natural side effect of that, will be knowledge and renunciation. You won't be attracted to any material things, and you will start to realize the reality, the Lord's, the nature of the Lord and one's relationship with him. So sambandha. And then one engages in service to the Lord. This bhakti yoga appears. Okay, so first is Nam Sankirtan, taking shelter of Guru, and now engaging in bhakti. These are the ways to destroy the anarthas. Now, what time is it? We still have 8 minutes. Okay. Text 15. The fourth verse of the Chatushloki of Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.36 states, Etavad eva jigyasyam tattva jigyasunatmana anvaya vyatirekabhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. One who is inquisitive to know the true nature of the self, Atma Tattva, inquires through direct anvaya and indirect vyatirek means of deliberation about that object, which is fully eternal. He inquires through direct and indirect means of deliberation about that object, which is fully eternal. Don't actually understand it. Let's see. Okay. So anartha nashera jatna duito prakar anvaya mukhete vyatireka mukhe ar anvaya mukhete vidhi bhajana vishaye vyatirek mukhete nisheda nanashaye. So the endeavors for removing anarthas, anartha nasher jatna, are of two kinds, duito prakar. There's anvay and vyatirek. So anvay means directly and vyatirek means indirectly. So by anvay, by the direct means for removing anarthas, when there are regulations in how to follow in the topics of bhajan. So these are all the rules of how we engage in bhajan, all the positive things. These are the direct things. So like anukul grahan, I think, right? And then vyatirek mukhete nished nanashaye. And on the indirect side, there's nished, all the prohibitions. So nanashaye. I don't know. I can't explain this nicely now, but let's see what the Bhajana-rahasya means. But that's how I'm getting it just from looking at it the first time. I'm understanding it is anvay means doing all the favorable things in bhakti, and vyatirek means not engaging in all the things that are unfavorable for bhakti. Okay, so Bhajana-rahasya vritti. After Brahma took birth, he asked Sri Bhagavan 4 questions, which the Supreme Lord answered through the Chatushloki. These 4 verses are famous as Chatushloki Bhagavat because they are the seed of the Srimad Bhagavatam. They contain the very essence of the Vedas, Vedanta, and all other Vedic scriptures. Philosophical knowledge of Sri Bhagavan, his eternal form, his qualities, pastimes, etc., are all described in the first of 3 verses in the form of aphorism. They're sutras. Okay, so knowledge of Bhagavan's form, qualities, pastimes, etc., are all described in the first of these 3 verses. And the second verse of this Chatushloki, Maya Tattva, which is separate from Bhagavan's eternal form, is discussed. So first, Bhagavan's Namrugun Lila, then Maya, and now in the third verse, what does it say? So yeah, this Maya Tattva, which is separate from Bhagavan's eternal form, is discussed, as is the material world, the Jad Jagat. And then the Sambandha Gyan found in these 2 verses should be understood. Okay, so the first 2 verses are Sambandha Gyan. Then in the Chatushloki, the third verse describes the existence of Sri Bhagavan's eternal Swarup, separate from his relationship of inconceivable difference and non-difference, achinta bheda bheda. So the existence of Bhagavan's Swarup, separate from his relationship of inconceivable difference and non-difference with the living entities and matter. Okay, so the third verse is achinta bheda bheda tattva. Then it also describes how the living entities, by taking shelter of the Supreme Lord's lotus feet, attain the treasure of the most elevated prem. Okay. So first 3 verses are pretty much, it sounds like Sambandha Tattva, but also the third verse explains Abhideya Tattva, right? How that by taking shelter of the Supreme Lord's lotus feet, one attends. Oh, it has actually, let's see. Anyway, sorry. Okay. This text 15 is the 4th verse of the Chatushloki Bhagavat, and it describes sadhan bhakti, the means for obtaining the above-mentioned supreme goal. Interesting. So it explains the sambandha, then it explains the prayojan, and then lastly explains the sadhan. Srimad Bhagavatam is organized like that as well, isn't it? It goes through the first 9 cantos. We're getting knowledge of everything, and then it goes directly to the goal, to Krishna, the 10th canto, and then 11th and 12th is like how the means to attain that goal, isn't it? So the Chatushloki is kind of in the same order, it sounds like. So directly following, or anvaya, means to accept the rules of sadhan bhakti with a favorable mood. The word vyatirek is used in regard to avoiding those actions that are unfavorable and that cause obstacles in obtaining the desired goal. The path of sadhan is known as abhideya, the process. In other words, that instruction which is obtained from the scriptures through direct interpretation, abhidha vritti, is known as abhideya. This is described in this text. Sadhan bhakti, which is none other than abhideya, is not dependent on time, place, performer, or circumstance. The duty of all living entities is to perform sadhan bhakti in all places, at all times, and under all circumstances. The sadhak should inquire and hear from the spiritual master about sadhan bhakti. In this text, the confidential meaning of direct and indirect indicates the union, the samyog, and separation, the vipralamba, found in Rajendranandan Shyam Sundar's amorous pastimes, Shringar Ras, with his most beloved Vraj Sundaris. Okay, so there's the meaning for the sadhaks, and now this is the meaning for the siddhas. The meaning for the sadhaks is engaging in, accepting the things that are favorable, engaging in the processes that are favorable to bhakti, and staying away from those things that are unfavorable. But then the confidential meaning of direct and indirect means meeting and separation, and Shringar Ras. So to deceive the conditions living entities, all these priceless jewels are kept. All these priceless jewels are kept well protected in a box that the Gyanis and Aishvarya Bhaktas are unable to open. That guru who is adept at relishing the rasa of Raj displays its contents only to his qualified disciples. Wow. What a way to end this commentary. That guru who's adept at relishing the rasa of Raj, of Vrajarasik guru, he displays the contents that's kept in the priceless jewels that's kept well protected in this box. He displays it only to his qualified disciples. All right, so tomorrow it's 8:00, so we'll end here. And tomorrow is the 38th disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. So our reading tomorrow will be, well, actually, I was just like, I just thought now, like, well, after we even started our program today, I was thinking maybe we can go through Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj's explanation of the second verse of this Nam Namakari Bahuda Nijasarva Shaktis. Yeah, we'll read his commentary on that. So then we'll still continue our program tomorrow. And but we'll also be honoring Srila Sridhar Goswami Maharaj by reading his words. And then after we read the commentary, maybe we can read some glorifications of him. Like maybe we can read from Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj or anything else. If anybody has any suggestions, you can let me know. So yeah, that will be our program tomorrow. And this is our last day of going through the Dvitīya-yāma-sādhana. We've been reciting at the end of our program each day. And tomorrow is Amavasya. And so that means we've now gotten to the halfway point in the first month of Chaturmasya. And so now we will be reciting all the verses for the Dvitīya-yāma-sādhana. So the second verse of Śrī Śikṣāṣṭaka, then the verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita explaining that verse, and then I think there's some more verses from Bhajana-rahasya, and then the lila for this pastime, the prata lila, this time period of the day, what Radha and Krishna are doing at this time period of the day. Srimati Radhika, she gets bathed and dressed and then goes to cook for Krishna. And then after Krishna eats, she eats his remnants. And then Krishna, he also wakes up and gets bathed and Srimati Radhika is summoned by Yashoda. I forgot that part. Yeah, and then for Krishna, he wakes up, gets wakes up, and then he goes, I think he wakes up and then he goes directly to the cow shed. And then he milks the cows, and then I think he bathes. I can't remember. We'll know tomorrow because we're going to be reading it. And then he goes out to the cow pasture, like herding the cows. I can't remember. We'll see though tomorrow. So we'll be reciting that verse every day for 2 weeks. All those verses. Also, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's second song, Tuhu Doya Sagara, this song based on the second verse of Shikshashtakam. We'll be singing that every day as well. Um, I think maybe we'll see. I'm not making a total promise, but I think it might be nice if I make a video going through this Pratam-yam-sādhana. I think what I do is I just thought about this right now, like right now, right this minute. But I will sing through this Pratam-yam-sādhana just all in one go, and then I'll go back and explain the meaning of all the words, so that if anybody wants to follow this program, then they'll have it, they'll be able to recite it just in one go very quickly, and then they'll be able to go back and also listen and find out what the meaning of all the words are. And I think I'll do this for each time of the day, Yeah. All right. So let's go through. So I'm not going to go through this in depth now because I'll do that in the evening time. But yeah, we'll recite now the Pratam-yam-sādhana. If anybody needs to go now, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, and Hare Krishna, Rasapriya Didi, Mitra Vrinda Didi, and Shasharma ji. Hare Krishna. Okay, so what am I opening up? Oh, I'm going to my website. I need to prepare these verses today also for the Dvitīya-yāma-sādhana. I haven't even started that yet. Okay. lineofdevotion.com. Okay, Pratam-yam-sādhana. Okay, so this is Nishanta, the end of the night. This Namabhas destroys the darkness of all sins and liberates one from material existence. That's what the sky becoming bright represents. This ignorance becoming destroyed by the sun of the name. Namabhas even. So tam nirvyajam bhajagunanide pavanam pavananam shraddharajan matiratitaram uttama shlokamolim prodyan anta karanakuhare hantayan nama bhanor abhasopi kshapayati maha pataka dvantarashim. O Gunanide, O treasure house of virtues, worship him guilelessly. Tam nirvyajam bhajam. Worship him guilelessly, the purifier of all purifiers. Pavana pavananam. The crest jewel of those who are praised in exalted verse. That's Uttama Shloka Molim. With a mind fully is atitaram, fully died. Rajan, with faith. Your mati, your mind is fully atitaram, died. Rajam, in faith. Shraddha. Even the faintest glimmer of the sun-like radiance of his name. Abhaso api, even the faintest glimmer of the Bhanu, of the sun, of whose name, Yan Nam, whose name. When that arises, prodyan. What's up? I've been having this problem with my... Whatever, sorry. I can't undo this, it's just... Whatever. Okay, sorry. So even the faintest glimmer of whose name, when it arises, prodyan, when it arises in the antakarana, within the heart, within the cave, kuhari means within the cave of the antakarana, then kshapayati, it destroys mahapatak dvantarashim, destroys the dense darkness. Dvanta means darkness of mahapatak, of all the most grievous sins, all the sins. Parama pavana Krishna tahar charan nishkapata shraddha saha koroho bhajan jar nama surya bhas antare praveshi dhvangsha kore mahapap andhakar rashi e shikshashtake kohe Krishna lila kram ihate bhajana krame lilar udgam pratame prathama shloka bhaju kichu din Dvitīya shlokete tabe hoto praveen. Chari shloke kramasha bhajana pakva koro. Panchama shlokete nija siddha deha varo. Aishloke siddha dehe radha padashray. Aramba koriya krame unnati uday. Chai shloka bhajite anartha dure gelo. Tabe jano siddha dehe adhikar hoilo. अधिकार ना लभिया सिद्ध देह भावे विपर्याय बुद्धि जन्मे शक्तिर अभावे सावधाने क्रम धरो यदि सिद्धि चाओ साधुर चरित्र देखी शुद्ध बुद्धि पाओ सिद्ध देह पे क्रमे भजन करिले अष्टकाल सेवा सुख अनायासे मिले शिक्षाष्टक चिंता करो स्मरण कीर्तन क्रमे अष्टकाल सेवा हवे उद्दीपन सकल अनर्थ जावे पावे प्रेम धन chaturvarga phalgu pray have adarshan. So I'll go through the meaning of all the words here tonight. Um, but for now, let's just read the translation quickly. So this Shikshashtak describes the progressive unfolding of Krishna's pastimes. In it, those pastimes arise through the systematic path of bhajan. First, worship the first verse for some time. Then upon coming to the second, you will become practiced, you'll become experienced. And then through the first 4 verses, gradually bring your bhajan to maturity. And the fifth verse is asakti. Take shelter of your own perfected spiritual body. In that verse, by beginning to take shelter of Radha's feet in one's siddha deha, spiritual advancement gradually awakens. Then practicing up to the 6th verse, this is bhav, all anarthas are driven far away. Then know that you have attained qualification for the siddha deha. If without proper qualification, one meditates on the siddha deha, then mistaken understanding arises due to lack of spiritual strength. If you desire perfection, siddhi, then carefully follow the step-by-step path. By observing the conduct of sadhus, you will gain purified intelligence. Having received your siddha deha and practiced bhajan in proper sequence, the bliss of service throughout the 8 periods of the day, ashtakala seva, will come effortlessly. Contemplate the Shikshashtak and engage in remembrance and kirtan. Gradually, your ashtakala seva will be awakened. All anarthas will vanish, and you will attain the treasure of prem. The 4 mundane goals of life will appear false and fade from view. This is the process of Shikshashtak. Okay, so now the first verse of Shikshashtak. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamrita swadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Pitavarana Kali Pavana Gora. I'm going to sing it a little lower. O Pitavarana Kali Pavana Gora Gawai Aichana Bhava Vibhora Chitta Darpana Pari Marjana Kari Krishna Kirtana Jai Chitta Bihari Ela Bhavadava Nirvapana Vritti Krishna Kirtana Jai Klesha Nivritti Shreya Kumuda Vidu Jyotsna Prakasha Krishna Kirtana Jai Bhakti Vilasa Vishuddha Vidyavadhu Jivana Rupa Krishna Kirtana Jai Siddha Swarupa Ananda Paya Nidhi Vardhana Kirti Krishna Kirtana Jai Plavana Murti Pade Pade Piyusha Svada Pradata Krishna Kirtana Jai Prema Vidhata Bhakti Vinora Swatma Snapana Vidhana Krishna Kirtana Jai Prema Nidana. Now from Govinda Lila Mrita, the Lila of this time of day. Ratrante trasta vrinde rita bahuviravar bodhito ki rashari padyar hridyar ahridyar apisuka shayanad uttito to sakhibi drishto hrishto tadatvo ditarati lalito kakati ki sashanko Radha Krishna Satrishna Vapin Janijadam Napta Talpo Smarami. So Ratri Ante, at the end of night, Bodhito, this divine couple, they awaken due to the Rava, due to the sounds of the Bahuvi, of the many birds which are Irita, which are sent by Trasta Vrinda, by an anxious Vrinda Devi. And then first they awaken Bodhito and now Uttito. Now they've gotten up. They've now arisen. They've arisen from the Sukha Shayanad, from their blissful sleeping, from their blissful bed. Due to the padya, the verses of the parrots, the kira and the shari, and the myna birds, which are hridyar and ahridyar, which are pleasing and also not pleasing to the heart, because it means that they're going to have to separate from each other. And so those two, Sakibi, by the Sakis, they are drishto, they are observed by the Sakis. And they are hrishto, they are very happy. They're happy and they're very lovely and graceful and beautiful, lalita, due to the rati that the love or rati, that udita, that has arisen, tadatva, at that time. But then all of a sudden, Sashanko, they are startled and afraid due to kakati gi, due to the cries of kakati. That's the old female monkey who calls out, Jatila, Jatila. So then Radha and Krishna, Satrishna Vapi, even though they are longing for each other, Nija Nija Dhamni, to their own respective abodes, Apta Talpo, having reached their beds, I remember that. I remember them, that Radha and Krishna, in this pastime. They go to their own individual abodes and they reach their beds and pretend to sleep and wake up so that nobody knows that they had sneaken away in the middle of the night. Then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song on this. Dekhiya arunodoy vrinda devi vyasta hoy kunje nana rava korailo shuka sari padya shuni uthe radha nilamani saki gan deki hrishta hoilo Kalochita sulalita kakatira rave bhita Radha Krishna Satrishna hoiya Nija nija grihe gela Nibhritte shayana koila Duhe bhaji shelila smariya E lila smara ar gao Krishna nama, Krishna lila prem dan pabe Krishna dama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shachinandan Gaur Hari ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai, Jai Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Param Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Sapa Shaji Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan ki jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Jai Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajana-rahasya ki jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad's Chaitanya Charitamrita and Govinda Lilamrita ki jai, Jai Shri Chaitanya Shikṣāṣṭaka ki jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Vrindai Tulsi Devai, Priyai Keshavashacha, Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi, Satyavatai Namo Namaha, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Champak Mataji, Ghanasham Prabhu, and wow, a lot of devotees today on YouTube and Facebook. I see there are 10 devotees. But I only see the names of those who write comments. So I see, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. And Shash Sharmaji, Mitra Brinda Didi, Rasa Priya Didi, and also Vidyalalasa Didi, Ganga Mataji, and everybody else. Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for joining. I'm guessing Raseshwari Mataji and Dira Mataji and Krishnamai Didi and other devotees are watching also. And also pranams to all devotees watching in the future, Shachi Devi, Revati Didi, Jaidev Prabhu, Manjari Didi, and everybody else. Thank you so much for joining. So tomorrow, as I said, we are going to begin our new program, our new daily program, the Dvitīya-yāma-sādhana, at the end of each program. And also, we will read Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj's commentary on the second verse of Śrī Śikṣāṣṭaka. And we'll also read some of his glories, because it's his 38th disappearance day. So see you all tomorrow for that. And yeah, all right, Haribol. Is there anything anybody wants to mention before we end our program for today?